way to go.
Something I would love for you guys to share with people. How could you explain to the younger generation why marriage is important and why it's something that they should look forward to and should hold in high regard?
The reason marriage is important is because it is in the nature of love to bind yourself to the one you really, really love. And that's what our culture does not understand. Our culture thinks that you use a person as long as they are expedient, as long as they make you feel good about yourself, as long as they give you thrills, then you're together. But if they lose their ability to turn you on, to give you a jolt of pleasure, then you ditch them and go get somebody else. And the problem is, although there are physical reasons why that is attractive, because we love the rush of pleasure, it leads to a loneliness and isolation. It trivializes yourself. It trivializes your partner. In our culture, if the quality of sex is high and the price is low, wow, that's golden. But if the quality of sex goes down and the price goes up, relationship over. And Christ says, no, it's not so much a question of falling in love, it's a question of choosing to be in love. And that's what God wants us to do. God loved us so much that he sent his son Christ to bleed and die on a cross. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, Christ was not looking forward to, oh wow, I can hardly wait to be nailed to a cross. He wanted to get out of there. But he stayed there because he loves you and me, and he understood that love is not just a rush of pleasure. Instead, love is a commitment to stick with someone through thick and thin, through the good and the ugly. And what happens is then a deeper love grows as a result of that commitment. But you take commitment out of the equation, and you're basically a dog having sex with as many other dogs as you can. And as long as this particular dog is beautiful and turns you on, oh, that's cool and that's wonderful. But the problem is we're not dogs. We're not human beings. We are human beings instead of dogs. And as a human being, God creates us to really build into each other, to make commitments to each other. I mean, think about your best friends. I dare say loyalty is one of the key issues in your best friendship. All right, so now your best friend is sitting next to you, and your best friend is sitting next to you. And that best friendship will only grow and deepen as you're committed to each other, as you're loyal to each other, as you turn away from impatience, from playing the boss game, from being self-absorbed, but really exalt that other person, encourage that other person the way you're so wonderfully beginning to do.
Is that only a man's problem, or do you think that happens with women as well?
Oh, yeah, that insecurity hits for sure in any type of relationship, usually. And some people don't acknowledge it, and they're kind of the more people-pleasing type and think, oh, I just got to stay with this person. And they don't face it. That's why I love your point. They got to face it and say, why am I staying with this person? And how am I growing in character? Which, second point, you nailed. But then thirdly, Ephesians 5, once you strike that covenant of marriage, I love that Ephesians 5, Paul talks about how the main goal of marriage should be to make the other person look more like Christ.
Ooh.
And how...
Can you put the AC on more?
How anti-cultural is that? Our culture says, no, it's about your own happiness. It's about the other person fulfilling your dreams. But you experience more happiness and joy when you actually make the other person look more like Christ. That's the consequence of it, which is, it's so countercultural, but also just counterintuitive. Like when I was doing, I'm big into happiness studies, positive psychology. And in order to get happiness, you can't aim at happiness. You have to aim at something else in order to get happiness, like serving others. And it's like that in marriage. When you aim at your spouse to make them more like Christ, you become happier and more joyful. And you kill off the devil, like you're saying, as opposed to fulfill me, the devil just grows.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's true. It's kind of the thing of like, you know how it feels so good to give somebody a gift? Like, you know, you spend time thinking about what they would like, and then you get to give it to them, and they get to open it. It's almost better than receiving a gift because you get to see their joy. And I think that's what I've come to, like, with my relationship with God, is realizing, like, wow, when you're constantly serving other people and you're worried about what other people need and you know, helping them out, it gives you so much joy and so much peace, because then you're not just thinking about me, and what do I need, and, oh, why aren't you doing this for me? And then you're living in conflict. And so absolutely, when you're serving other people, it gives you joy. So it's almost like if you serve others, you get the most back, because it gives you all that joy and peace.
The first is last and the last is first.
Mm-hmm.